Welcome to the Business Spotlight. Today I'm so excited. I've got Phil Collins from Zig Zag Surveys joining us, and we've got some really interesting things we would like to share. Phil, I'm so grateful you're on the Business Spotlight today, and I'm really looking forward to learn a bit more about your business, your journey, and a bit about health, which is very interesting. I'm going to dive right in, if that's okay. So tell us a bit about what exactly is it that you do, how long have you been doing it, and what's that journey been like?
Okay, so Zig Zag Surveys originally was a drone services company. We started just over 3 years ago, so we've gone through that really difficult stage of trying to grow a business from scratch. So a fully fledged company that provides the 3D surveying with the drone operations to create measured building surveys, which is delivered in 2D drawings or a 3D model, which is used for design purposes, whether it be an architect, could be a solar energy company, it could be an asset manager, it could be an engineering company, property managers for rooftop inspections, RICS reports, photos, video inspections, drawings, mapping out the roof. So we had that real challenge at the beginning. It's not like we started the company and now 3 years later we're the same. We're not. We had to flip and spin it, because to just operate as a drone company would never have been the right way forward. So it's not where we want to go. And the skill set that we have with the background experience would be just be wasted. So we went from this whole stage of being a drone company to then being a surveying company. Then you start realizing, well, these are the challenges. Wow, the costs involved. It's not just the cost of the scanner itself, it's the cost of using the software. And then these things will start to add up, and then the cost of then PI insurance, and then duplicated insurance for drones and separate insurances for surveying. So then suddenly you've got this, and you don't foresee this initially. You can plan as much as possible, but then suddenly you're like, wow, you suddenly hit with all this. Now you have to really start scaling, and you have to really start getting on top of your marketing. And as we all know, marketing is a tricky thing to do. To get marketing right, that's why you have to look at the brands like McDonald's. They just stick in your head. I don't like McDonald's, but it's a brain worm, and so it's getting that balance right as well within your niche market space to understand, how do we do things differently to our competitors? How do we come across in a different way to our competitors? And I think actually what you touched upon there, which is quite interesting about when we talk about health. When I speak to prospects, say future clients, but I mean engaged with them, a lot of our approach is it's not necessarily to talk about our business. I try to leave talking about our business till the very end of a conversation. I want to know more about their business and also about them as a person, because I think that that's how you really create great relationships in business, and that's how you keep retention. Because everybody's saying, "Oh, I want to sell, I want to sell, I want to sell." Yeah, fine, of course we do. Everybody wants to make the money, but it's also understanding what's making that client tick, what's making them talk, what's really incentivizing them to want to work with you. And I think that personal touch is really critical and key. So the challenges have been just the switch of going from one company to another and having to completely restart. But fortunately, we had a good client base that supported us through that. The other challenges are we are very much reliant on what goes on with the economy and the markets, especially in construction. I spoke to 7 architects last week, and they're struggling to win business. They're struggling to win business because the cost of equipment, the cost of tender bids, the pricing's changed. There's people that are undercutting. It's a really, I mean, it's not my market. We work for architects, but we don't do architectural work. And they're just saying the cost of materials, obviously what's going on with all these Trump tariffs and all this stuff that's happening in the background. They're saying we're struggling, like we're struggling to win business. And we've seen that as well. Because if they're not getting the business, we don't get the business. We're not required. They don't need a survey unless they've won the job. So those challenges are also, again, they're out of our control. It's what's going on with the economy, with politics. I mean, we could go on forever about that. We'd be talking for the rest of the year. But it's, yeah. So does that summarize your questioning?
No, it's brilliant, Phil. Thank you for sharing that. Can I go back to, so you talked about marketing and obviously as many of our viewers and listeners, marketing it is often a big challenge in business.
Mm.
So what's some of the biggest lessons you've learned around marketing, and what's been working for you very well?
It's a good question. So I personally don't. Well, I do in the content side of things, but with the actual marketing side of things, it's left to someone else. However, what we've realised is that, and what I've been picking up on is, people are getting more frustrated now with just general e-marketing campaigns. Generic, doesn't really. It's not personalised, and we've had some success from doing e-marketing campaigns. We use Wix, and but to be honest with you, the majority of our business has come from me speaking to people, picking up the phone, being at networking events, personalized marketing, getting to know people, getting to integrate across different chapters, platforms, as we know, BNI, for example. It's a big thing that I'm involved in at the moment with this, and the way that we're using that as a tool, to really not just engage a different audience, but also be able to um, have an opportunity to speak to people on a one-to-one basis without it actually being, "Oh, I'm picking up the phone just to cold call you," and that's not what I would do anyway. It's not, I come from a sales background, self-taught, and it's never been trying to sell. It's always trying to understand, listen, and then I can give them my why. Why would you want to work with us? Not you should. Why would you? And why do your competitors work with us? So I think with marketing, if I'm correct in saying, they say, is it 2% of your monthly turnover should be spent, roughly 2 to 5%, I think it is, of your turnover, if I'm correct, that should be spent on marketing. But again, at the moment we're running a thing with Google Ads, and then you've got SEO, and then you've got a marketing company that says, well, it's going to take 6 months before you can start coming up the food chain. And the marketing thing for me is so broad. Is a where's like we call it the sweet spot. Where do you, if you're going to invest your money, you know where do you do it properly? And so many people advocate for it in such a way, but I always seen that they're saying the same things. When people talk to me, they phone up, they say the same thing. We can get you to the top. But I'm thinking, hang on a minute, if you're selling me you can get me to the top, but there's another 100 companies, how are you going to get them to the top?
Mm.
So that to me, that's counterintuitive. That doesn't make sense. Oh yeah, you'll be in the top five. But what about the other 50 companies that you're speaking to? They're going to be in the top five. How is that possible? There's only five five spaces. So I've kind of, like, for me, is I've always been kind of like, just do the hard graft. Just pick up the phone, go out and see people, do the hard graft. And then one of the clients that we work with, Sween, a brilliant lady, they do no marketing at all. They're so well respected that they just get business from people talking on their behalf. And that, I think, that is the sweet spot, is when people are just referring you and saying, I mean, this is, of course, we're not looking at like McDonald's and these chains. This is large corporate, but the type of micro businesses, SMEs. That's where the real, I think, value is that you've got people that just say, look, these guys do a really good job. They've got a great work ethic. They keep you updated. They're real. They're on time. Their costing's good. They're very competitive, but they're really good at what they deliver. If someone else is doing that for you, and you've got people doing that over and over and over and over again, you can create a great business, and you don't actually have to be. And I know some people are really kind of like they want to just be constantly in your face with video clips and social media and all that sort of stuff. Yes, there's an element of that. That's correct. We do need to be present, and we need to be putting ourselves out there. However, I think less is more sometimes. I think it's more a case of just doing it in and like I say, I call it the old school way. It's humans interact with humans like we're talking now in a different way to reacting to an email. You know, if I see an email, I go, yep, and I do it myself, delete, not interested. Can't, I'm going to waste 10 minutes of my time looking at this email. No. If you get me on the phone and you make me interested in if you engage with me in the right way, I'm going to listen to you. Then I'm going to say, okay. I was speaking to a client the other day. He said, Phil, look, listen, what's your website? And I hadn't even sold to him. Then he starts watching our YouTube clips. And I was like, so he sold it to himself. I didn't sell anything to him. He's an architect, and I was just having a conversation about his business. So yeah, marketing's a tricky one. I'm sure if you've got hundreds of thousands of pounds, it makes sense because you're working on a larger scale and you want to go to a bigger audience. You want to go to a global audience. But if you're coming down to companies like our size, or anybody that even the architects that work within our realm, they're not going to be spending that money. So it's a pointless objective. I think it's about just people having, a backbone and getting out there and talking to people. Because I think that's what we've stopped doing a lot is talking. A lot of people don't talk enough. They need to jump on the phone, have a chin wag, get to know one another. You might not get any business out of that person for a year, but they might pass you on to someone else. And that happens. So anyway, does that answer your question?
It does. I love it. And I'm absolutely in agreement with that. I think, often we can spend way too much money on marketing strategies that don't get us any results. And all you actually need to do is exactly what you say. It's about building relationships because we do business with people.
Absolutely, 100%.
So yeah, absolutely great sharing there. Thanks so much, Phil. Before we started the interview, we talked a little bit about health and business, and
Yeah.
you've got a very interesting practice or a habit, and I would like you to share that with us because I think that's another area that we often have challenges in is how do we stay healthy, dealing with business and all the pressures and I was just very interested. So please share a bit more about that.
Yeah, of course. I think it's a combination of the two as well, isn't it? We're dealing with the pressures of business, but also our own personal lives. So if your body is not in a place of homeostasis, so if people want to Google that word, they'll understand what homeostasis means. But it means your body is in the right place, it's happy, and there's no inflammation in your system. Now, stress creates a hormone, right? So it's cortisol release into your body. And if you're stressed, you're anxious, you're tense, you're shallow breathing. So you're not actually regulating your body in the right way. And people don't realize that they do this, but they're doing it consistently on a daily basis. When say, for example, you're going into a meeting, and even to this day, and I'll give you a little background story, even to this day, I still have that moment where I go, oh, wow, like I'm gonna have to present in front of X amount of people. It could be 10, it could be 50, it could be 100, it doesn't matter. It's still a group of people and they're all staring at you. Right? So you're self-conscious instantly. It's like oh, well, rabbit in the headlights. And my experience comes from stress management. When I was a kid, I was, my background with my parenting wasn't good. And so my school football teacher said to me, I want to make you the school football captain. I couldn't even play football. Right? I couldn't even play football at all. And I was 11 at the time, 11 and a half. And he said, come and play. So I started, I couldn't even kick the ball. But he wanted me to be the captain. Now, in our school, there were people that had like one of the people that played Neil Shannon, his uncle, Mick Shannon, was an England player, one of the most famous England players. And he's in the team, and I'm now the school captain. Now, part of the captain is obviously you have to run the team, yeah, on the pitch. But every Tuesday, I would have to take a piece of paper, yeah, and I'd have to go up on the stage in front of, I think it was 500 pupils, and I'd have to read the school football report. And I couldn't stop doing this. And I was shake. Do you know how many Tuesdays I didn't go to school? I used to take as many off as possible, but my mum picked up on it. And then I realized as I got older, that was obviously a part of a learning process, but it's nervous energy. So the way to reduce that nervous energy is how you start your day, you end your day. So if, say, for example, and I always say this to people in business and in life, never have confrontation with someone in the morning. If there's something you want to talk about it at the end of the day, because that is going to follow through the whole day. That energy is going to transfer to someone else, and that because you're going to be in some kind of negative frame of mind, you're not going to be the best version of yourself. The one way to bring all the inflammation down, and this is crazy for some, and a lot of people might have picked up on this, and I would say Google Wim Hof. If you've not heard of Wim Hof, he's a breathwork specialist. He's got a great story to tell. He comes from Amsterdam, and he's a really, really, really amazing human being. And he's this is a man that was able to actually create what's called the stimulation of your vagus nerve. Now, if anybody knows what the vagus nerve is, this is your immune response system within your body, and this is where you can tap into this hormone release, which actually brings down inflammation in your system. So if you think about stress, tense. Now, this is where we're getting to. Breath work coupled with doing ice work. So we say ice work, you don't have to get into an ice bath like me, crazy man, 45 minutes on Saturday, broke my record. Could have stayed in there all day. It got so nice. Um, you actually, what you're doing is you're reducing inflammation within your system. So if you do something as small as, say, a cold shower, and with a cold shower, a lot of people go, "Oh no, I want the heat." Of course, everybody wants the heat. That's the comfort zone. The way to get out of the comfort zone is to go into the cold. And then when you go into the cold, when you come back out, you'll find that your comfort zone in a stressful environment is completely different. You're no longer going into that situation going scared. You're like calm, relaxed. And as I said to you before we jumped onto the actual call properly, Alida, I had my friend at the weekend. He was like, no chance. I got him in there for 20 minutes, and he said he's had the best sleep he's ever had in his life. So inflammation is one of the biggest problems that we have especially in a business. I mean, obviously, life, families, parents, marriages, all that sort of stuff. Of course, there's lots of pressure there, but that coupled also with running a business. Where's the next money coming from? Where's the next job coming from? Stress, 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 stress. Constant hormone release of stress. So take a plunge in an ice bath. I shouldn't be plugging this, but you can go and they're called Lumi pods. They're nice and cheap, £99, and you need to get it to 10 degrees Celsius. It's lovely, trust me. People are thinking, what? This crazy man. And, and then do some breath work. And there's a really, really good app for breath work. But I would just Google Wim Hof and follow his practice. And if you don't find yourself feeling absolutely amazing after doing the breath work, then I'm never mentioning it again. And if you don't find yourself feeling amazing after a cold shower, and if you're working from home, because a lot of people are, okay, so remote, some people go 2 days a week, come in, have a cold shower in the morning. At lunchtime, have another one. Trust me, you don't need a coffee. You need to have a coffee. Basically it's a free coffee. And you'll feel stimulated, but you won't have that nervous reaction that coffee will have, which is a dip. And it's a natural, let's say, a natural high, and it's really good for the body. So, Alida, did that answer your question?
Oh, yes, it absolutely did. I love it. I think there's so much great things out there that people aren't even aware about, and that can really help them get to the next level, not just in business, but also in life. And it starts with taking care of your health and your mindset, and that's where it all starts. So yeah, I love it. Such a great share there. Thank you.
One last thing I forgot to
Yes.
mention is a lot of people don't realize also with people take a lot of supplements these days, supplementing. This will fix that, that will fix this. It's actually the reality is that supplements are, especially if you're just going out and buying the basics. Holland and Barrett have got a great thing going on as they do, buy one get one for a penny, all that sort of stuff. But you need to look at what you're actually taking, because a lot of the time it's actually going through your system and it's not actually doing anything for you. You get very bare minimum results from it. But one thing that I would say in business, and I use it when I have to do some really intense investigation, so to speak. So I want to do research, I want to understand a different market, is there's something that's called nootropics. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but this is so nootropics is this is lion's mane, there's chaga, there's reishi. I mean, there's so many different types, but they are a mushroom extract. So not one that you go to a festival for, okay? It's no hallucinogenics. You buy this in the shop. But I would personally go for, a brand like in say the Isle of Wight, where they actually grow it naturally and it doesn't go through that whole pharmaceutical system and they add bulking stuff to it. Or you want serum, you don't want to have tablets. But this stuff is really good for concentration. So there's a particular brand called Alpha Brain, and what this does is it allows you to get into a state where you are super focused, and it's natural. This is not drugs. This is natural mushroom extract, which if you look over the history of years, especially with Chinese medicine and stuff like that, mushrooms is a massive thing. But mushrooms has picked up the wrong connotation because of people thinking about parties and taking mushrooms in the wrong way. It's not that at all. So I've said to people before, have you tried mushrooms before? And they're like, what? I said, no, not those mushrooms. The mushrooms that you use like nootropics. And they're like, oh, no, I haven't. No, just Google it, do some research. And the benefits you get from that, not only, so say, for example, reishi, if someone's struggling for sleep, if you're going to go to the doctor and get yourself some sleeping medication, you're going to get stuck into a cycle of wanting to use that regularly because your body's not going to relax in the way that it should. If you take a reishi mushroom tablet, so I'd say the cheaper version, but I would go for the serum because the contents is a bit of olive oil in there, and then the rest is the mushroom. You sleep like a baby, and you're not stimulating yourself with a pharmaceutical product that actually eventually you're going to have to come off of, and then you're going to try and have to get yourself back into another term, if anybody doesn't know this, your circadian rhythm. And do you know what that is, Alida?
Yeah, it's your
Yeah.
sleeping rhythm,
Sleeping
right?
cycle, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's completely off whack. So then if you're not sleeping properly or you're sleeping deep with a medication, you're not going to function normally the next day. You're going to struggle because it wasn't natural sleep. We have deep sleep, we have REM sleep, and we have light sleep. REM is when you're dreaming, by the way, guys. But deep sleep is you want deep. The thing is, what you're looking for is the deep sleep. REM's cool because you're having a dream. Like you wake up going, what was that about? Was that real? Was I there? Was I really there? But the deep sleep is when you're gone. And if you can get like, and this is sounds doesn't sound a lot, but at least an hour and a half of deep sleep a night, the next day is going to be brilliant. But it cannot be something that's pushed upon you with a tablet. So reishi mushrooms, nootropics, ice shower, ice bath, and make sure you get lots of greens in you.
Like I tell my children every day, but
Yeah.
doesn't seem to stick. Brilliant. For quick fire questions, what's the key to success for you?
Okay. Key to success would be consistent. Be consistent. And when I say be consistent, that means with your process and to know when something's not working, to change it very quickly. Because you can think that it's working and then you want to try again and try and again. I always say, if you can't find the way, make the way. You know, if something's not working, okay, but to put that the one, try something else. Keep trying something else. Don't, because if we can do that, we can get stuck in a loop. I call it the eight loop. Yeah. So you just, it's like a scale exit track, if you know what that is. You don't come
Yeah.
off of it, you're just going around. You know, there needs to be an exit. So just be consistent. Turn up as the best version of yourself every day, even when it's painful. And I've been through 6 months of real agony with a spinal injury, which I've still got, and it's not fully healed. But still, I had to turn up, and still, I had to do my very best, the best that I could. And that doesn't mean just lying there watching YouTube or Netflix. It means you've got to get up and you've still got to go. Even if you're in pain and you're struggling, just turn up. And if you turn up every day, something will give. Consistency.
Like it. What's one piece of advice you would give to someone starting out in business?
Get a good accountant.
Mm. Yeah.
Get someone that can really help you understand what you're doing and how you're going to do it. A business coach and an accountant. What depends what experience you've got, but if you're coming in as a cash cow and you've got all the money, you're not going to be thinking about that anyway. But you will if it goes wrong. It's knowledge is power, and so we as a business we had terrible because we were a startup and we're putting all our money in. The accountant was so bad. We were doing the work for her. And I was like, I'm not an accountant, but and my business partner's not an accountant, but I'm going back to my accountant with all these questions. Now, that doesn't make sense. And what's going on with this? And why is that? And so I'm wasting my business time where I should be talking to people, where I should be out seeing people, trying to fix their problem, and I'm paying them for it. So my best advice is get a good accountant, but know your audience. Because there's no point having an accountant if you don't know your audience.
Yeah. Brilliant
Because there's
advice then.
no one to buy from you.
That's it. There's no business if you
No
don't have
business.
customers,
So you don't
right?
need an accountant. Just wasting your money.
Uh, one book you've read or podcast or anything that you've listened to that you can recommend to others?
It's a tricky one because there's so many. Uh, uh, wow, that's a really good one. I'm gonna go for Joe Dispenza. Breaking the habit of being yourself. It's it's not so much business related. It's more about psychology, about how to use meditation, for example, as a way to tap into what we call the heart rhythm. So you kind of this is this guy is I don't know if you know him, Alida. Yeah,
Yes.
he's a healing
Yes.
man, and
Yeah.
he was paralyzed, if I believe. He was yeah, he's bedridden, and through the art of breath work and techniques, he's become a unbelievable entrepreneur. And I mean, I could go on so many, there's so many books that I absolutely love. But no, Joe Dispenza for me, because the rest of business stuff is irrelevant if you don't have your mindset in the right place. If your body is not right, your brain's not right, you're not right. And I know from having this injury that the struggles I've gone through, and it's been real low points because I'm a very active person. Yeah, I'm 47. I still weigh the same as I do when I was 22, and I'm always like, for me, like movement is key. Moving the body is key, but also moving your mind is key. If you get static and stuck in one place, then yeah, it's egg on your face. It's not gonna turn out good. So yeah, Joe Dispenza, breaking the habit.
Love it, and absolutely agree. It's fantastic. So yeah,
Amazing,
very
amazing
good,
man.
good guy to follow. This has been an amazing interview. Thank you so much, Phil. Again, thanks for coming on. I'm yeah, really grateful. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Excellent. Keep up the good smile.